Hi everyone, I'm Justisa, and welcome to Dark History of Sweden. The last few weeks we have delved into mental asylums and hospitals of Sweden, and I want to continue on with that for at least 2 or 3 more videos. Today we will talk about Säter's Mental Asylum. Just by the lake Houston in Säter, hidden by greenery and foliage, lies Säter Mental Asylum. Säter Mental Asylum opened its doors on 29th of May 1912 and was to be the foremost and most modern mental asylum in Sweden. With 37 buildings, 20 care pavilions and 830 beds. In each pavilion there were 27 beds, 16 caretakers, and 1 superintendent. It was designed by the Swedish architect Axel Kumlien, but Fasta Paviljongen was designed by Ture Stenberg. According to a study that had been done in 1902, showed that Gotlands, Jönköpings, Kopparbergs, Kronobergs, and Värmlands county were in dire need of mental institutions, and therefore Säter Mental Asylum was built. Just like St. Lars, the area was separated into the male side and female side. But instead of just separating them, they built 2 of each facility to accommodate the need without mixing women and men. Half of the area were for female patients and the other half for male patients. And also, like St. Lars, they had stallmen. 1 for women and 1 for men. This was Ward 30 and 31 and was the place for the very troubled. It was called the storm by mouth, since it most often was very loud there and could be heard across the entire asylum area. The storm opened in 1924, 12 years after the asylum opened. This was for those who were very mentally sick, patients who self-harmed or were very aggressive. Säter Fasta Paviljongen was built for the criminally insane, for those who committed serious violence, threatening, or sexual offenses. Prisoners like Sigvard Nilsson Turnesson of the Sala mob. But more on that next week when we talk about patients that stayed at Säter Mental Asylum. The entire building was built in the far back of the area and had its own exercise yard. They needed a good overlook of this place since they held dangerous people here. So they built a high wooden fence that was later taken down and replaced with a 5-meter high concrete wall. Windows were barred, it had thicker walls and heightened security, as well as a special protection from escape since they kept high security prisoners. They installed alarm devices and centrally controlled electricity to make sure each patient was where they should be. They also placed a guard by the entrance who controlled anyone who entered or left the building. In the end, some of the inmates sat here for over 50 years. Some even died here before they could experience freedom again. They also had long baths, or as I was told by someone in the comments from the St. Lars video, it is actually called, and I hope I pronounced this correctly, balneotherapy. In each pavilion, they had a bathroom with 4 bathtubs for balneotherapy. Another treatment that they used was, of course, medical restraints and straitjackets. This was one of the most common practices at the time, even here. The thought was that nature and tranquility was what the patients needed to be healed. That is why most asylums and hospitals are surrounded by lush trees and bushes. In the exercise yard at Säter, they had an awning where the patients could rest. Some patients even planted potatoes and other things during springtime. Even if, in theory, it sounds relaxing and nice, it wasn't. In the early 1900s, these people were frowned upon. Unworthy, useless, and a waste of space since they couldn't contribute to society. Of course, some people actually cared and wanted to help them, but that was how they thought that they helped them, by torture and lobotomy. Säter's asylum has its own graveyard. It opened in 1913 and over 800 people are buried here. Only a few have white crosses with their names, birthday, and death day. It closed in 1951. That means that in 38 years, 800 people died and were buried. That's about 22 deaths and burials a year. Today, the graveyard is protected by a high fir hedge and hidden from the public. You can still visit, but be respectful when you visit places like this. In the 1980s, Sweden decided that the current mental care needed to change drastically and abolished most of the asylums. This meant that many patients were either released or had to move to another facility. In 1989, most of Säter Asylum closed down and they opened up a forensic psychiatric regional care unit. Later on, they opened up a dentist and a care center in the old buildings, which are still open today. Many of the buildings have been demolished, but one that is technically still standing is Säter Fasta Paviljongen. In 2002, someone set the attic on fire, which left it unusable. There were plans on renovating and using the building, but after the fire, they dropped those plans. The county wants to demolish it, but either the funds aren't enough, COVID, and many other reasons. Some want to protect and restore it, but no one has the money for it. In all this struggle on what to do with the building, nature has claimed it until someone takes action. In total, Säter Mental Asylum was open and active for 77 years, with thousands of patients throughout all those years. That was all I had on Säter Mental Asylum. I do plan to travel there this summer. I might take a trip around Sweden, checking out some interesting buildings. But next week, we will talk about some patients of Säter Mental Asylum. So make sure you are subscribed and hit that bell so you don't miss it. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of each other and yourself, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!